Welcome to Rosebud Homestead. It's been a couple of weeks since we have put out a video, and thank you to all of those of you who have posted concerned comments. We are fine. It's just been a very, very busy end to the semester, complicated by, of course, all of the things having to do with COVID. But we're done and we're in winter break, so we're off for a couple of weeks, which is delightful. So we're going to be doing a few videos during this time so that we can keep you all in videos. During this past 2-week period, there was one evening when we came home and we were both just exhausted. And so I just decided to, we had a carcass of a rotisserie chicken in the refrigerator that still had a little meat on it, but as we had been eating on it, we'd put our bones back on that package so that I would save the bones. We like to do chicken bone broth. So I just decided to do a quick and easy meal in the Instant Pot. And we have had some of our subscribers ask us to do things with Instant Pots, especially since I made a comment in one of our videos that the Instant Pot was a game changer for me, which it has been. Oh, and I'm happy to report that today I got my brand new Instant Pot, the Instant Pot Max. They advertise that one you can do pressure canning with. So I'm going to test that one out and do a video on that one very soon. Anyway, I threw that carcass in the Instant Pot and dumped some other things in after we made the bone broth from it. And we had a really great meal after about 45 minutes, I would say. And so Jim said, we need to make a video on this. And so that is what we're going to do today. One of the reasons that I want to do this video is to show you that you do not need a recipe for everything. We've had some comments from subscribers asking for exact recipes on some of the things that I do, but sometimes I don't publish recipes because they are copyrighted by someone else. At other times, I will put a recipe down when it's my own work, but a lot of the times it is just not within our time schedule to be able to do that. But I always give the amounts of ingredients when amounts of ingredients are important. I want this time for us to loosen up just a little bit and realize that sometimes you can just dump things in and have a meal, especially when you have done a lot of canning and dehydrating and you have a lot of ingredients already on hand. And that was the case the other day when we made that meal. Now, last week when I made that meal, I started with a chicken carcass. And so the chicken carcass went into the Instant Pot and we pressured it for about 20 minutes. Then I took it out, and I did use the meat from that chicken carcass because it had only been processed for 20 minutes. But the veggies that I had used in there, the aromatics, I tossed because those didn't have any flavor. So I had the broth in there, and then I threw in the meat, and then I added just a few things that I had from my pantry or from our canning shelves. So we're kind of going to recreate that today, except I'm not going to start from a carcass. On that day, I had an extra quart of chicken broth that I refrigerated, and so this needs to be used up. So I'm going to start with this, double checking that it's still good, which it is. So that's going to go in. And because I want to do enough so that we're going to have some leftovers for a while, this is a jar of our canned chicken bone broth. And this was done on November the 25th of this year. So it's still fairly new. There we go. Smell test. And it popped, so we're good here. All right, now, the foundation of a good soup, or actually it didn't turn out to be too soupy. It was more like, well, it was a very thick soup, more like a stew, except the meat wasn't in great big old chunks. The foundation is really a good broth. And so if you have done some canning of chicken bone broth or turkey bone broth, even beef, which I have not done, then you have a good foundation. And so then the rest is just exactly whatever you want to put in. And I don't measure. I just put in what I've got. So I went to my shelves today. I have this open box of, this is acini di pepe, and this is a pasta. So I'm just going to put in, I don't know, 2 or 3 handfuls of this acini di pepe. And then, of course, we need some vegetables. And I have some freeze-dried mixed vegetables, and these will be perfect because right now in my refrigerator, I don't have any fresh of these things that I can put in. So it makes it very convenient when I have these all freeze-dried. And actually, this is the last of my mixed vegetables. And so when Jim went to the store earlier today, he brought me home some more packages of frozen mixed vegetables, and they are in the dehydrator right now because I can hardly get along without these. Now, in addition, here is some freeze-dried celery. And again, I don't have fresh celery, but I did dehydrate some celery. In fact, I showed that on one of our videos. And celery gives such a marvelous taste to any soups that I'm going to put in. And there are lots of the leaves of celery, which make it really nice. So I'm going to put in a couple of handfuls of these. And then, because that pasta doesn't give it quite enough body, I'm also going to add some rice. And I have jars of rice up in my cabinet, and this was just some, so I'm going to probably put in maybe about that much of that rice. So that was a little more than a cup. And we, of course, cannot have any kind of soup without onions. And instead of having to chop up fresh onions, I, this past year, dehydrated lots of Walla Walla sweet onions. Oh, they're so good. And so this is a jar that I dehydrated, and I'm going to put in a couple of handfuls of these onions. And then last but not least is the meat. And so if you've been following our videos, you know that we can, by the pint, lots of meat. This was some raw pack chicken that we did. And the date on this is February 17th of 2019. So, a little more than a year old. Listen for the pop. Yep. And then the smell test. And it's good. Now my hands are very clean, and this may gross some of you out, but these are in big chunks. I don't want it in big chunks. So because I'm not going to get anything else dirty, I'm just going to use my hands. And as this is coming out of the jar, I'm going to flake it a little bit, and it flakes very easily as it comes out of the jar. And just drop that right in. And it's so nice to have all of these things already prepared on pantry shelves or out on your canning shelves so that you can throw a meal like this together in, what, about 5 minutes? Now, I'm not going to pressure this, but I do like to cook soups like this in my Instant Pot. You don't necessarily need an Instant Pot. If I wanted to, I could pressurize this for about 10 minutes, but I have other things that I want to do. So if I'm fixing a meal and I have some other things to do before we eat, then I'll just cook it on the manual setting, which is what I'm going to do here. But if I'm in a hurry for a meal, then I would pressure this for about 10 minutes and it would be done. So I have some things to do to prepare for our lunch. So I'm just going to put this on manual, slide around here and set it on manual. And I'm going to, well, it's got 37 minutes right there, so I'm just going to leave it. And that beep means that it's now going. So I'm not using the pressure lid, I'm just using the glass lid because it's not going to pressurize. So I'm just going to leave this right here, let this cook and simmer for about 20 minutes to develop the flavor and to be sure that the pasta and the rice are cooked through and that the dehydrated vegetables have rehydrated. And we should be ready to have lunch in about, 45 minutes. So we'll come back when this is ready to serve. While we were waiting for this to get done, I was sitting at my computer editing the first part of the video, and I noticed that I'm wearing my Christmas button. Christmas is less than a week away, and this is one of my favorite buttons to wear. It is HO to the third power. And it is so fun to see the comments that I get on this, because a lot of people don't understand that HO, ho, to the third power is ho, ho, ho. I even had one student who was in my university class the next semester, ready to do her student teaching for becoming a science teacher, say, Dr. Cantrell, I think you have the symbol for water wrong on your button. So lots of fun comments. Anyway, let's check our lunch. And so this has cooked. After about 15 minutes, I came in to check it, and it was boiling really, really hard. Too hard. And it was actually kind of sticking to the bottom. So I turned it off and then turned it back on under slow cook. And that took the temperature down and finished it off just great. But look what we have. We don't have soup at all. We have more like a casserole, but isn't that pretty? And I've already snuck a little taste, and it's so good. And so the thing of it is, when you do a dump meal like this, love whatever you produce. If it turns out really, really soupy, then you have soup. If it turns out more like a casserole, then you have a casserole. And then take a little taste, and if you need to beef up the flavor, do it. If it's not chickeny enough, then add a little bit of chicken bouillon. So you can do whatever you need to do to make it edible and delightful for your family. So I'm just going to dish up some of this for Jim and me. We're going to have our lunch now. I can see all of the ingredients. The little pepe de acini is in there. Little tiny round. It's the same pasta that you make frog eye salad out of. And so it's nice, nice lot of rice in there too with the chicken, and the vegetables just perk it up perfectly. And then to kind of garnish, I opened up a jar of our mandarin oranges that we've made a video on too. And so this whole entire meal has not been made with anything fresh. It has been made with things that I had on hand, kind of cleaning out my cupboards and going to our canning shelves and picking stuff off of there too. So that's what a dump meal is, and they're just really lots of fun. So have fun with a dump meal, and we will see you next video.